Greetings. Welcome to the Eclectic Arts virtual studio. I'm Mark from Eclectic Arts, and thank you so much for joining us here for the Fun Table Round 4. And many of you out there, if you are familiar with me, then you know that I have or will be a part of the Alice virtual tour. So I've been doing a lot of interviews during the last 3 months. And so the Fun Table concept started there for the first 2 rounds, and then did kind of a test round last week here using YouTube and, well, actually we just used YouTube. But if things go correctly tonight, then it'll also be on Facebook and Twitch. And this is round 4, so I just want to thank everybody for checking things out. And before you say anything, yes, I do realize that this is vertical and not horizontal. I'm using my phone, and some of the buttons that I like to use only work in vertical position for some reason. They don't work in horizontal. So at some point, maybe I can figure out what's going on. But in any event, I'm really looking forward to doing this. So let me just kind of check a couple things and make sure that everything is everything before we get rolling here. And yeah, there's one of them. Yep, there's the other one. Okay. So my first guest is a musician, drummer, great storyteller. He was on the show with Alice 3 different times, and I'm so happy that he could come back. He is the drummer for Doyle. He's also an attorney. He's also the king of parallel parking. I just found out he likes to run. So please welcome to the Eclectic Arts virtual studio, Wade Murff.
Hey.
Hey, Wade, how
Mark?
are you? Not much, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. This is gonna be it's I'm glad it's Friday.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it was a long week. Got a lot done personally. How'd it go for you?
You know, good. We just finished up the tour literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now I'm here doing this, and I've got a couple more interviews already lined up for next week before I kind of have some day job obligations coming in. So I'm trying to make the most use of my time. And then once I figure out the day job obligations, then I know my evenings I'm going to be doing something like this again because evenings aren't changing at all in terms of events and that kind of stuff. So I just kind of resigned myself to the fact that, I guess I better just keep doing what I want to do because I'm not going to be going back out to concerts and, you know, the theater and any of that kind of stuff in the fall.
Yeah.
So, okay. And let's see here. My second guest is... Boy, he was guest number 4 way back in May on the Alice tour. He's also a drummer. He is also the CEO of his own company, which has, I believe, over 60 employees down in Georgia. So please welcome to the Eclectic Arts virtual studio, Mr. Mike Gruwell.
Yo.
There he is.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. This is a great way to end the day. I mean, it's 10 o'clock here in Georgia, but I'm happy to be here. So,
yeah, no, thanks.
Right on.
Thanks for joining me. And I think again, you and Wade and myself will have a chance to talk about all kinds of different things. And I'm almost 1 beer in, and I have another one sitting here, so I'm all ready to rock. And it's right also. On. I got to mention this too, even though this is vertical and people can't see my shirt so much. It's also Cancer Slug Day because Cancer Slug showed up in the mail today. So I'm itching to throw that in the CD player, the courtesy flush. You got to love that title. Oh, my gosh. So let's make sure this is official. Bang. There we go. And this is the fun table.
Oh, there it is.
We've got
nice
Wade's Facebook.
Wow, look at you.
And we're going to have Mike's sound better profile. And if you want me to keep doing these, send me some money.
Mike. Yeah.
I'll get right on that.
All right. So for those out there that have not seen the fun table sessions that I've done, basically, what I've done is I've taken some classes, taken some questions from the internet, from very different sites, and I throw the question out to the folks that are here. In this case, it's Wade and Mike, and we just kind of roll with it because they're both new. I get to pull from 3 sessions worth of questions.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so some of them I've already answered myself, and I might have a different answer this time. I might have the same answer. But we're going to get into this starting right now, and I'm just going to look over here and go with the first one that I see. We'll start off nice and easy. Name one pet peeve.
Go ahead, Mike. Or who do you want to go first?
Either you guys can just kind of jump in.
All right.
All right. Pet peeve. Man. I would say memes. In general, all memes that I see just drive me nuts. And just, yeah, I would say in general, oh my goodness.
I'm such an offender.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm the worst offender. I get it though. I know a few people that really do not like memes. This sounds really super petty, and it is petty, but it's like, it just bugs me so much. It's when you have the person in front of you has way over 10 items in the grocery store, like, 11 or 12. I don't count, but you can definitely eyeball it. And if they've got like 20 and they're trying to act like, oh man, I just need to get out of here, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, come on. It's just abusing that honor system.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the honor system wherever it's applied,
Yeah.
But the magic of the honor system is honoring the honor system, and it's like, it's right up there with littering to me, because it's like everybody is a part of that. We all share that responsibility. Don't litter. Some states, or I think all states, have fines. They issue fines if you get caught, and that's fine. That's good legal incentive. But I think you should probably just personally not want to throw trash on the ground. You know what I mean?
It's amazing when you're out there, like just walking or outside, how much trash is on the side of the road.
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Does it just fall out of the car or your pocket?
I mean,
there's people out there just throwing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my neighborhood here in North Hollywood. Every single person owns a dog, or at least like 90% of the people. And that's one of my pet peeves, is people who let their dogs number 2 and then just don't pick it up. Just don't clean it up. And I see it all the time. Yeah. Or I or I arrive after it happened, and I'm just like looking around like, where is he? Because it has to be a guy, you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like a thing that a girl would do. She's like, oh, I gotta use the bag. So like, even when I take my dog out, like, she likes to go on these huge hikes at 11 p.m. And it's like, I'm really tired. It's way at the end of my day. And like, she'll drop a pickle and I'll be like, oh man, the last thing I want to do is pick this up. It's like and it's in a dark area. It's like in an alley or something. And I'm just like, no, you have to honor, because I could never have that. You need to honor the honor system, and you got to clean it up. Man, I hate it.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because when I take my dog out, and you said like, okay, I'm going out for a run. And I mean, within I'm all set, we're going. And I take like 2 or 3 bags because I know she's like, oh yeah. Within like 20 steps, she's like, bam. I'm like, oh man, we just got started. Couldn't you wait just a little bit longer, like half mile or something?
So you got to carry it around.
Oh yeah. Then I'm carrying it around the neighborhood, looking for a trash can to chuck it in.
Oh man, I would actually completely piggyback on what Wade was saying, because for me, I was just actually behind somebody in a drive-through the other day and watching them flick cigarette butts out the window. So that goes right along with the littering thing. It's like, why don't you put that in your ashtray and dump that, properly at home in your garbage or what have you? But you see it all the time. They're at a traffic light. Bing.
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point along the history, cigarette butts just became this thing that you can just throw out.
And it's the worst thing to throw out.
It is the worst thing to throw out. They don't go away. They don't biodegrade or anything. Yeah. And it's like,
they start fires on the side of the road. Gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. God, because I smoked in my 20s.
Yeah, me too.
And I have this I have a little bit of guilt about it, because I must have tossed a ton of cigarette butts. I know I wasn't that good about it. I mean, I can't really remember exactly how I did it. I think for a while, or for a long while, I used to get Marlboro Light 100s, but I would always tear the filter off. It was the weirdest habit. That's what I smoked, and I don't think I threw the butt on the ground, but
I just remember I had a 67 Mustang, and I used the little ashtray, and that thing would just get jam packed. And finally I find a dumpster and dump it. But yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a. Oh God, what the hell are my questions? But there they are. And I just want to let you know that those are listening. Alice TV and Dusty and folks from the Alice tour. I see that you're watching this, so thank you for checking things out. I see your comments, but because I'm using a phone, I can't reply to your comments. But I do see them, so just know that I'm watching, and I appreciate that you guys are checking out this fourth round of the roundtable. Okay, let's move from pet peeves to something else. Okay, this was interesting. In 20 years, what? Where did Mike? There we go.
I think we lost him. Did he go backstage?
He's coming back. There he is. Okay, there he is. In 20 years, what do you think people will be nostalgic for? So in 2040, what will they be looking back on?
I'm just not sure how soon this mask stuff's going to go away. It could be that we're still, 10 to 20 years from now, we're nostalgic for just like what 2019 was like, being able to just go out, go to shows, movies, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like
20 years. Yeah. When you get, once you pass the old age odometer, passes 4.0, it's almost like you really start to realize how fast time goes by. So when I hear 20 years, I'm like, oh, that's pretty soon. It's a long time, but I remember 20 years ago, and doesn't seem that long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's like, especially with this 2020 has been such a crazy year. Right now, I'm nostalgic for even just the flip phone days. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like everything was so simple back then. Or like just the 90s, when like Friends was running, and like what were we worried about? I mean, we had there was like the second wave of political correctness was going on then, and that's good and bad, just depending on how you look at it. But it just really was a simpler time. Yeah. I can't really put my finger on why it was simpler. But I think in 20 years, I know personally, I will be nostalgic about when we used to look past headlines and things that just grab your attention for the sake of grabbing your attention and getting likes or hearts or whatever. That is going on so bad right now. And it's like almost like with news and in entertainment, no matter where it is, everyone's just trying to get clicks.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about the clicks?
Yeah.
I guess if your job depends on it, it's a good thing. But when it really comes down to it, the substance of what we're thinking about and what we're passionate about isn't about clicks or grabbing someone's attention with a crazy headline. I don't know. I just feel like the more that I cruise through social media and see these wild headlines, it doesn't matter what news organization it's from, if it's left or right, they all do the same thing. They all post something that tells the narrative in their way that they want it to go.
Yeah.
And the headline is there just to grab your attention, to piss you off, to make you. It's generally to piss you off. I can't think of anything that's like makes you happy. But I, in 20 years, I know I'll be nostalgic for that. At least just the simpler time, the flip phone time, the pre-click time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't it seem like,
But I think we're nostalgic for it now, right, Wade? I mean, it's like
I really am. Yeah.
Because it's like, is that gonna? I know with because I've got two kids. I got twin boys that are teenagers now. They just turned 15, just got their driver's permit.
Wow.
And it's like, for the first like 13, 14 years, I felt like we did good at like them not getting absorbed in their phones.
Mhm.
This last year, it's like, oh my goodness. It's like, just, finally they're back into like skateboarding and getting out and doing stuff. But there was a good few months where it's like, good grief, just stop staring at your phone. It's like, there's another world out there. And that's one of the things, like, it's just hard with this generation. It seems like, that, they're not finding a passion that's like truly their passion. They're getting wrapped up in everyone, like what you're saying, what everyone thinks about them or thinks about other people or whatever, instead of like finding that like love that I know that we did when we were younger. It's like, we found that thing that just drove us.
Yeah. I don't know if you rode like BMX bikes when you were younger, but
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Or skateboards.
Skateboarding for sure. Yeah.
I mean, when I was younger, when I was that age, in my early teens and before that, certainly, like, those were the passions.
Yeah.
Like, and I did care about what people thought of me.
True.
But I didn't dwell on it. We were always just we were just about like making our bikes faster and like having a certain tire and like going down to, we had certain places where we built jumps. We had shovels hidden in the bushes, and that was our deal, or skateboarding, but it's hard to say, because we didn't really grow up with this technology.
Yeah.
It's not their fault, that's just what's there. And technology is such a blessing in some ways, like drumming. I know you drum. I grew up playing to my dad's record collection, and I would put on Led Zeppelin or Cream or something like that and try to figure out what the hell that drummer's doing.
Yeah.
And that was such a different experience than like what the kids have nowadays, which is YouTube. There's going to be footage of that guy playing it or that girl playing it or somebody covering it or showing you how to do it.
Yeah.
So it's really great for that. I really wish I had YouTube, instruction. You can find anything, but like learning an instrument or learning a part, it's there. And so that aspect of technology is really great.
Oh yeah. They're starting at this higher level, right? They're starting at such a higher level, but they're missing that struggle, because that was the way it was for me. For me, it was junior high when I got into drums, and that was like, I poured everything into it. So it was like, that was any second, that's all I was thinking about. That's all I wanted to do. Yeah. But you had to, figure it out yourself. You didn't have all that access to that level of instruction, I guess, or just
none of it.
Yeah. So it's awesome. But also you can get wrapped up to where you're just looking at it. You're not really learning anything. They're so wrapped up into just watching someone else.
Yeah. I guess, you're right. 'Cause it can be a little daunting if you see how it's done, you see what's out there, and it's just maybe even more competitive nowadays because it depends on if you have access, who has access.
Yeah.
And then you get to see everybody's progress a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be a little daunting.
Yeah.
Coming up nowadays, it kind of all evens itself out. I just know that when I was a kid, I was in a small town. I had, I heard Slayer for the first time, and I was just like, oh my God, trying to figure out, okay, how is he doing that?
How do I do that?
Yeah. And you couldn't learn it unless you just struggled behind the drum set trying to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't watch anybody doing it.
Yeah, no, I can only kind of throw in my 2 cents because we're all in the same age bracket, within 5 years of each other, I think. And I took guitar lessons back in the 80s, and I still remember my first guitar player, guitar instructor that I had brought in a Michael Schenker piece for him to learn for me. Right there on the spot, he's there trying to rewind the little recorder tape deck thing that he had to try to listen to the guitar parts. And I still remember when he was writing it down and doing the just kind of charting it out for me, that I'm like, I don't think that's right. I don't think he got it. And it wasn't like I could do it like now, like you just said. I can't go to YouTube and sit there and look at somebody else, like 20 different versions of someone trying to teach you how to play Captain Nemo by Michael Schenker. So back then I just kind of had to figure like, well, okay, I got to learn what he gave me and then see if I can pick out the rest of it. And that would take forever sometimes, depending on what the piece was. Versus now it's like, no, it's at your fingertips. Even for me today, just trying to do this technology part, there were so many different tutorials I could just watch just to kind of figure things out. And it's so helpful in that sense. But then, you can get so lost in all of that too, that at some point, I'm one of these people, and maybe just because of my age or whatever, that I like, feeling that sense of accomplishment on my own, that I actually took the time and put in the work. So a little bit of help's okay, but I don't want it to be showing me the only way to do it. And to me, it just kind of seems like almost a cop-out at times.
I know. I read this quote. It was Thoreau. I think he was talking about, he had this analogy about not putting too much value on the busyness, like filling your calendar. He was talking about how society, the analogy was about corn and seeing the value in the kernel as opposed to the husk. And he made this analogy that some people, like the most efficient people will focus on getting that kernel and not value the husk so much, and I think he was talking about, don't approach everything like you need to be really busy and working really super hard all the time to achieve something. He basically said that like a wise person would just surround themselves with like this halo of relaxation. It's a little strange, but I think it makes sense. And when I think about the YouTube thing and the availability of instruction, it's a strong argument, or it's a really good comparison to that analogy.
Yeah.
Why struggle, when you can efficiently go after that little kernel, So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I'm torn. I think that like Mark, I agree with you. It's like you really want to. I think that the best way to learn something is to grapple with it. Grapple with the concepts, and you really internalize that struggle, and it just adds to your passion about something. But at the same time, if you can click on something and watch how it's done, and then learn it and move on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's a little bit of both, because just like as a photographer, you need to know how to do post work now. You have to be good at Photoshop or good at Lightroom. And so some people are good at one or good at the other, but if you're good at both, then you're like amazing. But I don't want to, I always look at my post work as something that should never be the substitute for being a good photographer, what comes out of the camera. So I try to do that first, and that's just something to add to the post work to make it a little bit better. But I know some people, they'll take like average shots and then they'll sit there and toy with stuff and post forever. And it doesn't really look too bad when it's done, but it's like, are you a Photoshop expert, or are you a photographer?
Yeah.
Right. That's how it is for me. And like drumming and my drum covers, it's like, and I think anybody that records, like any engineer will tell you this, is like the real value is in the recording, like that take. You can quantize and correct things and go in and gloss them up and add all these, these effects to a recording. But if the performance isn't there, you can tell. That's what's really key, And I always sometimes I'll want to rush through my cover and just like, okay, that was good enough. And then I'll have to remind myself, no, part of why you want to do this is to learn how to do it as precisely as possible, you know, and have a really excellent take. And I think that's like what you were saying. You got to be a good photographer. That's where the real value is at, you know. And I kind of try to do that with drums too. So,
no, I found myself caught in that sometimes where, like, you know, I'm putting together some, and I don't have as much structure as you do on some of my videos, but, you know, I'll do a take, I'll get the video, I'll get all the stuff, I'll put it in, and like something's not quite where I want it, and I'll try and mess with it, and I'll spend a couple hours. I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to do a fresh take, do everything again, and then bam, it's like, oh, that came together so much better than trying to mess with something that was just a little bit off.
Yeah, I've been there. Isn't that crazy how that works? I mean,
yeah, it's like you're so determined to like, but it's all in there. It's all on my computer. I'm going to make it work. I'm like, no, scratch it all, do it over, and it's so much easier.
Yeah, that's had to
have that good take, like you said. Yeah,
that's got to be so similar for your endeavors, Mark, with photography. Like if you get a shot and you're like, okay, that was pretty good, and then you get it home and you get it into your program and you're like, it's not as good as I want it to be.
Yeah,
you're like, maybe I'll add some exposure to it, you know.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think the other thing that happens to me, especially early on when I was doing the concert photography, and then eventually I got a little bit better and more confident in what I was doing, is that I would see a shot, and I think in the camera, I got it. I can't wait to get home and look at it. And I'll look at it like, just like you said, like, oh, that's not quite what I thought it was. And then I'm hoping maybe the frame right next to it that I took was going to be the one that's like the money shot. And then I'll see it, and that one's worse. Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be a skill that you just develop.
Yeah.
Right.
Even like when I first started doing photography, I was working with models. I did almost 1,000 shoots earlier in my career. And they always talk about when photographers first start shooting models, they're going to be rapid fire guys, meaning that they think as long as I keep pressing the shutter button, I will not miss a shot. And what actually happens is that you just don't know what you're actually trying to capture. So they're just randomly taking 800 shots when you should have taken 200. And as you keep doing more and start understanding what you're trying to capture, then you start seeing your numbers go down and get more confidence about, I nailed that shot. I can move on to the next one. And I found the concert photography thing for me is pretty much the same, that I'd be there in the pit and, the lights are going crazy and the crowd's going crazy and I'm kind of like intimidated by everything and don't feel comfortable. So it's like, just shoot a bunch of stuff. Just shoot a bunch of stuff and hope that you got something good. And then once you kind of get used to the lay of the land and everything else, you can kind of figure out, no, this is where I should be, and this is what worked last time. And I know they're going to be backlit because I've seen them before. Like in Doyle's case, then I know it's going to be rarely is there going to be a photo pit for me to work in. So I mean, I'm amongst all the fans getting shoved around and kicked and prodded and everything else. And also depending on the venue, I'll also know the lighting. So it's going to be a bunch of red, a bunch of blue on them, or is it going to be clean lighting for a little bit? And like at El Corazon, when you guys play, it's like, I already know. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. It's a tight space. The lighting is crazy.
Yeah, and that's also part of the challenge. I know one time I was at the Showbox at the market, and you played Showbox Soda with Jenna Torture, so it's their sister venue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this one's right by Pike Place Market, and I was covering Meshuggah. And oh my God, I was in the pit, and some of the other photographers already knew the band. They're like personal friends of them or whatever. And as soon as the lights went down and they had all this crazy backlighting going on, I just had this look on my face like, what the fuck? And the other photographers saw it. They just started laughing at me, just kind of like, they're just pointing at me. And I was looking at them like, what are we supposed to do with this? Yeah, exactly. But I managed to get some shots that were serviceable.
Serviceable.
The publicist was okay with them, so I was happy. But I was like, God damn, this is awful. How am I? And it never changed either. It wasn't like a couple songs were like that. The whole set was like that. It's like, oh man. But again, that's part of what happens sometimes. So that's why when we get an opportunity to shoot, like say a hard rock or a metal band outside, oh man, that's such a perfect time to do it, because you're going to get some decent lighting on them for once.
Are you allowed to? Have you ever seen anything at Red Rock? Is it Red Rocks or Red Rock? I can't remember.
You know what's interesting that you mentioned that is that 2 days ago, I had Blaze Garza from the Violent Femmes, and the clip that he provided for us was from Red Rocks when he performed there with Colin Hay and Bare Naked Ladies. They did the Men at Work. They did the Men at Work song, Who Can It Be Now? So he played the sax part.
That's awesome.
And so, I'm sorry, what was your question though about Red Rocks?
Oh, I was just thinking, man, that would be an incredible place to
venue for you. Yeah.
Yeah, to take outdoor shots, but it's normally at night, right?
I think so.
It wouldn't matter there because they have such great lighting, right?
Right. Yeah, they do. And based on that video that Blaze provided, it reminds me a little bit of what like the Gorge Amphitheater is out here in Washington State.
Yeah.
With that whole thing behind it, the nature backdrop and everything that's just so beautiful and breathtaking. And yeah, you're going to get light if it's natural or if it's artificial from the stage. It's still going to be something decent to work with versus backlit and fog and all this other shit.
Yeah.
So you said Colin Hay?
Yeah. So it was a tour back. Yeah, so 5 years ago, it was Bare Naked Ladies, Violent Femmes, and then Colin Hay from Men at Work. So that was the bill.
I heard him do you know who the Sklar brothers are? Randy and Jason Sklar. They're like twins. They're down here in LA. They're comedians, and they've had a couple of television shows, but they do a podcast called Scarborough Country. And then another one, I can't remember. But anyways, they had Colin Hay on there. And he was just in the studio and he did some acoustic song. It was one of the Men at Work songs. And I was blown away. He's so good. And it made me think of like the 80s, growing up in the 80s and hearing Men at Work all over it. I just took it for granted back then. And now I'm like, man, that was a really good band.
Yeah.
Hearing those guitar parts played just on an acoustic, I was like, man, that is a great rock song. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. The fact that, like Blaze was saying, that that was the first show of that particular tour at Red Rocks. So they only did the song like during sound check, and he's sort of trying to figure out the sax parts. And apparently when they got to the sound check, just to run through the song the first time, when the sax solo comes up, he just played just any kind of sax solo just to fit there. And Colin Hay turned around and looked at him and said, I think you need to listen to the song.
Oops.
Yeah, so Blaze like, oh, okay, I just put that there just to put that there. I'm going to listen to it later. So he said he was back in his trailer or whatever. It's like frantically studying that song. So,
I mean, I don't think you can change that sax part up if it's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
it's so key to the song.
He had the main melody part, and then like maybe 3/4 into the song, there's this other kind of sax break thing, and that's where he kind of went off on his own tangent. But then, Colin Hay kind of reminded him, no, you don't want to do that. You want to play it. And so he learned it note for note, and and the performance was captured on Access TV, and it's perfect. So it was just a tremendous night, and I can't believe or imagine, like he was saying, the first band he ever saw live as a kid was Bare Naked Ladies, and then he was on tour with them, and then there's Colin Hay and saying, hey, let's play this song together at the end of Jam, Men at Work.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an interesting story. Wow. So let me kind of address some of the comments because people have been commenting, and again, I can't reply to them. But yeah, I know Dusty. It's something about does drum include the for taking a drink, and we will say yes. And I see Captain Blackwood's here, and Alice TV is still here, and I saw Tosh in there a little earlier. So thank you again so much for joining us, and the fact that it's vertical, and I know it's supposed to be horizontal, but like I mentioned earlier, is that my buttons don't work when it's horizontal, so that's why we're looking this way. But hey, then you get nice close-ups of our faces, and everything's all good. So, and if you can believe it, we've only been through 2 questions in
oh my god
34 minutes. To give you an idea, the other sessions, man, we must have gone through maybe 10, 12 in the same amount of time.
I'm a bag of hot air.
I love it. That's why this is free form. We can kind of go whichever direction we want. I just throw something out there, and then we go off on any kind of tangent. So let's see. Let's find. Okay.
I'm just trying to buy time so I can avoid any political questions.
Oh
God.
Trust me, in terms of what I have written, there are no political questions tonight.
Good job.
Yeah, this is supposed to be fun. I don't want to get a headache. Okay, here's one, since we're all musicians here. If you could have a song play every time you enter a room, what would it be?
Mm.
What's your entrance music? Everywhere you go.
That is such a crazy question.
And that one
'Cause
came
that's
from the
so-
internet. I didn't come up with it.
Automatically, for me, I think, okay, it can't be anything trendy. It's got to be something super classic and super timeless, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
if it's gonna play every time you're coming in, you don't want people to go, "Oh God, that song again." You know, it can't. You know, no offense to Meshuggah, but it can't be a Meshuggah song because they'll be like, "Ah."
But is it for them or is it for you? Does it get you amped up? You know?
I mean, you know, I'm not the biggest reggae fan, but I mean, answer me this: can you really be in a bad mood when reggae is playing? I mean, you have no excuse. You can't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I'd need something a little bit funny. Maybe the Rocky theme. Because I mean, at least people would laugh, you know, when I came in. But yeah, I don't know. What about you, Mike?
Man, I mean, I think when I think of his question, I think of like something that would like pump me up. And it's like, for me, I think back to either like some Rage Against the Machine or some Pantera.
Oh,
Something that's like, you come out and it's like, that first song off of like one of Pantera's, like Mouth of War or something, where the guitar riff is just going, or Bulls on Parade or something like that, where it's just like, and I'm thinking more of myself, like I'm coming out like, heck yeah, this is, I'm ready to roll, whatever. So that's, I don't know, for me, that would be, but I'm thinking more of myself than I'm thinking of like everybody else. But something like that would get me amped up. And I think I would never get bored of that. Like I know whenever I hear some of those songs from from like Pantera, Rage Against the Machine, some of the heavier stuff, or even some like Living Color or whatever, it's like those songs would just like, it gets me amped up.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah.
See, I asked this question before, so my answer has not changed.
Which is?
And so my story is always that I like sports. I follow football, some baseball, that kind of thing. And so I always pictured like when I was at Safeco Field or back at the Kingdom, that if I was the closer for the Mariners coming out of the bullpen in the ninth inning, that they would start playing that opening riff to Balls to the Wall. And it's pure attitude.
It really is.
Yeah, you just know like some shit's gonna go down right now when that riff starts, and that's what I would want for every room that I walk into. You say that, it's like, there it is.
To the wall, man.
That is so funny. I remember visiting my cousin Mikey in, where was it? It was in Northern California, but when I was a little kid. And he was like, to my brother and I have a brother that's like a year and a half younger than I am. He's like, come here, you guys got to hear this record. And he had he had a 45 of that Accept single. I don't know what was on the B side. And we were just little kids. And so we heard Balls to the Wall. And so we were laughing so hard. And his voice, you know, he's got a great singing voice, but it's kind of it's a little bit goofy. And man, that was such a good memory. That would be a great one.
Yeah,
I liked Ronda Rousey's entrance song, but was that Katy Perry? Yeah.
Oh, I think you're right. I think it was Katy Perry that she came in. That she was.
I know. Katy Perry gets a lot of shit. But you know, as pop artists go, she writes some, or her and her writers put together some really great pop songs, man.
Mm-hmm.
They really do.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the hard things, especially, and we know this as musicians, that try writing a pop song.
Oh
my gosh!
It's so hard to get that hook and get that hook again, and then make the lyrics actually work with that melody that you come up with, and then the instrumentation behind it. It's like, I used to be really dismissive of pop music until I really started to dissect it, and it's like, oh shit, this is really hard.
It's super tough. Simple is hard.
Yeah.
It's just like I have a few tattoo artist friends, and it's like they've told me, traditional tattoos. It's a limitation of color, yellow, brown, black, red, and thick outlines. But it's more of a simple style of tattooing. And not very many tattoo artists can tattoo traditional. It's considered a simple form of tattooing, but it's not easy to do. Mm-hmm. It must be the same type of thing, Simple is just not easy.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah,
that it's deceptively hard.
Totally.
I think even if you go back to the music metaphor for that type of thing, how many times have people said playing an AC/DC song is easy, the guitar or the drum part, in terms of getting the groove? And you listen to somebody do it, it's like, yeah, on paper you're playing these chords
sure.
on the guitar, but it never sounds right.
I've talked to Doyle about this on tour. It's come up several times because, like, he always has music just blasting, and like Van Halen will come on or something like that, and we'll get into a discussion about, like, okay, so a lot of people can play these parts, but their finger is not picking it the same way. They're not holding the notes down the same way. That's that same thing. You just can't recreate it. You can play all the notes, but maybe you don't know why those notes are being played. They're not coming out the same way, We have that discussion a lot,
Yeah. No, I believe that. And you guys, being musicians and guitarists and drummers and bassists and all that kind of thing, a lot of it's coming from here. And it's unique to you. So how you're, gripping your sticks, or how you're fretting the chords and how you hit the strings, it's all different. And then let alone the gear that you're playing it through.
Yeah.
I remember at one point, I think it was Yngwie Malmsteen or somebody was talking about he was trying to play through Eddie Van Halen's rig, and he couldn't get a sound out of it because Eddie had it so particular, and it sounded like garbage when Yngwie tried to play through it. It's like, well, there you go. It's Eddie's hands and certain gear things that he does, but it's the same concept that it's unique to each person. So you might think it sounds easy, but until you try to do it, it's like, yeah, that still doesn't sound quite right. It's close, but it's not on the money yet.
Yeah. Van Halen comes up a lot for us. Because you can hear like 1 second of a song, and if you hear Alex Van Halen's snare drum, you're like, that's Van Halen. You know what I mean? There's just no mistaking how they play those songs. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But AC/DC, same thing.
Yep, for sure.
3-chord rock and roll, and there's been a lot of bands that have come along that have tried to recreate that, but it's tough to do.
Close but no cigar.
Yeah.
Hey, Wade, I was going to ask, do you happen to have any light in your room? You're getting a little dark there.
I know. The sun, I'm relying on the outdoor light. I'm going to turn my table just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, do whatever you need to do.
Is that better? I got a little bit.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Blackout.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at this one. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, where'd it go? Okay. If you were a vegetable, what vegetable would you be?
Take it away, Mike. A vegetable. Let's see. What's the vegetable that we always don't think is a vegetable?
Tomato?
Tomato. Yeah, I was going to say tomato.
We think that's a fruit. It's tomato.
Yeah.
Fruit. That's the thing.
God, that would be the best vegetable if it was a vegetable.
What kind of freaking vegetable would I be? I'd be a head of broccoli. I don't know why though. Broccoli, because it's green. I don't know. That man.
You know what? Every 5 or 6 years or something like that, they come out with some kind of article about broccoli. It cures cancer.
That's right.
Like every 5 years, Broccoli cures cancer. It's. I remember watching George Carlin talk about that. He's all, get yourself a bowl of fucking broccoli. Like he's talking about like how nutrition experts just don't know what they're talking about. They're here, they're there.
That's right.
It's like, eat whole eggs. Don't eat whole eggs. Eat egg whites. Don't eat eggs. Eat free range eggs. Man, vegetable. I can only relate to just the stuff that I eat. I eat a lot of carrots. I think that's a good one. I eat a lot of broccoli too throughout the day. I try to. But carrots, I think maybe just because I know that they're really healthy, and they're pretty good. They're pretty sweet. Like if you steer away from sweets, stuff like carrots start to taste kind of sweet. It's like oatmeal. If you ever just stop putting stuff on oatmeal, over time it starts to taste sweet. It's weird. That's been my experience, actually. But
yeah, no, I think that makes sense. If you take certain things out of your diet, then it might kind of heighten the aspects of other things that you should be eating. So the sweetness comes through, especially in carrots, because there's that natural sugar in it.
Oh yeah, I think they break down to sugar, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
God, everything does.
So
frustrating.
I know on the last session when I asked this question, one of the gals said she would be an asparagus because she's tall and she loves green things. And then one of the other guests, I said, well, how tall are you? And she's 6 foot. So it made sense. And even I didn't realize she was that tall.
Yeah.
And for me, last time I said an onion, but I didn't say it because somebody else said an onion because of the layers. And I didn't even think of that. I just said, I just said because I just like onions and I like
those are a lot deeper answers, and we're just like carrots taste good.
Well, at some point I'm gonna be putting the guys and the gals together, so we're gonna see what happens.
The onion is such a great answer.
Yeah,
it's like you can peel away layers and get to know the inner me.
Yeah, I think for me, if I had to say something right now, I would probably actually say a green pepper, not because of any deeper meaning behind it, but it's something that I buy all the time for myself and also for my guinea pigs because they need to eat green pepper. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's what I would go with as green pepper time. And I want to say hi to Tony. I saw he just joined. I don't know if he's still with us. So again, we do have people from the Alice tour that are moved over here, at least for today, to check out what's going on with us. And yeah, so now we're moving into let me ask a question that I've not asked any session, because there was one. Oh shoot, where'd it go? Well, that one's kind of hard.
What do you think of Trump's China policy?
I can't hear you.
Okay. Here, yeah, there's a bad connection. Here's one. I never asked this because sometimes I would say in journal, do you want to have me ask sex questions? And there was kind of silence. So, and again, this is it's not high school. You don't have to answer any of these. You can just say, I don't want to answer that. I plead the fifth or whatever. But I thought this was interesting when I came across it online, and it was, if you could go back and change who you lost your virginity to, would you and why, assuming you've lost your virginity? So you can choose to answer that or not, or just a general statement or whatever.
I don't think I would because, well, I had a pretty long relationship with her and it was good. So,
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't change that. I learned a lot. I was a jerk, but that's part of the learning process, right?
Yeah, sure.
Live and learn.
Yeah, but nah, I wouldn't change it. It was all good.
Yeah, same here. I wouldn't change it. Boy, I would love to tell that story, but I can't. There's just too much going on. Too much going on with that. No, it's just I wouldn't change it.
Okay, all right. No, fair enough.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, so we have two people that wouldn't change it, and in my case, I probably would change it, just because I just remember it not being and it could be my own issue that you kind of build it up when it actually happened, you kind of think it's going to be one thing that might turn into be something else. And in my case, that's kind of what it was. It was kind of a letdown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, so I didn't think like, this is all the big fuss, all the sex stuff on TV and in the movies and, your buddies, you're all talking about it. And when it finally happens, you're like, well, shit, I can just do this to myself. So that's, if I could go back, I would probably change, who that was with.
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, so and I'm glad that we got answers out of all three of us. So hey, kudos to everybody. There we go. Cheers.
No Fifth Amendment.
Okay, let's get away from the sex stuff.
Sure.
Here we go. All right. What's something you want to learn or wish you were better at?
Right now for me, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. A lot of it is the photo editing, video editing, getting better at Adobe Premiere Pro. I mean, I know that's so specific,
yeah.
But that's like right now my head is like I can get down what I want to get down on the drums, but then like editing it all, that workflow is like all over the map. Sometimes it's like, wow. And other times it's like, I'll spend 3 hours on one thing. Like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's a personal thing. Like right now, I'd like to get better at, other than just being a better human, being better to my kids and my wife and all that good stuff. But like personal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, photography. I mean, I definitely, because I feel like I might have an eye for it, like some raw material to get started on it. And I've always like wanted to learn and get the equipment and really take it on. It's hard because I don't have a lot of time. But, it's like my dad, he has all these photo albums at home. So like whenever I go and visit, I always pull one or two of those things down. And he had he had a certain Canon something, the old school camera. And he just took such great pictures, man. There's like, I feel bad because through my 20s and 30s, I didn't take a lot of photos. We didn't have smartphones at that time. Or I guess,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Now we've got it. We've got a camera on us at all times. We're just like taking pictures. But like, man.
No, I took a photography class. It was all film. You're developing it at school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was an art.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Mark, was like, with drums, I guess the equipment will take you so far, but you gotta have your muscles have got to be able to do it. You got to have command over some of those that coordination. The equipment will definitely enhance your playing and let you go to different levels. But I know with photography, it's like I've used a good camera before, and it is night and day. When you have just an ordinary camera and use a good camera, the picture is so much better, especially with a better lens, like an additional lens. So I don't know. I mean, you've got to have the eye. You have to have the raw material, the skills to know what to shoot and what to go for. But equipment seems to be like a really big deal in photography. Is it not?
I think it is, because my photography gear that I use is really bare boned compared to all of my peers that are in any given pit here in Seattle. And so the thing that I ended up doing was trying to figure out every little nuance of my camera body and my lenses to maximize as much as I possibly could. And maybe these other guys have a lens without almost instantly do what I need to take 3 different steps to actually achieve. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking the longer way around, and I've always done it. Even when I was doing model shoots, I was actually using a bridge camera. I wasn't using a DSLR at the time. And my cousin's husband, who was a fantastic wedding photographer, he saw some of my work, and so he wanted to talk shop about all these different types of lenses and things I was doing. And when he found out what I was using, he was like, you're shitting me, right? And I was like, no, well, I can show you. This is the camera that produced that image. And he was like, well, how did you manage to do that? So he's asking me all these kind of technical questions. I was like, look, I just spent so much time trying to tweak the hell out of this body, this camera body, that this is how I can make it work. But I bet you it's taken me 10 hours more to do something that you've done in 10 minutes in terms of the learning process and how to actually make this work. And I think the equipment, as it's gotten better, especially with cameraless or mirrorless products and things of that nature, that you can have a $10,000 camera body and the lenses to go with it, but at the same time, you still have to have that creative eye somewhere in there. So you might be able to get a good image, but I don't think you're going to get a great image, because if you don't have that camera eye, it's just going to stay there. It's going to plateau. It'll never get better beyond that.
Yeah.
And that's why you can you can give that kind of camera to somebody. Say, oh yeah, I'm an amateur photographer. If they actually know what they're doing and actually put it into like a manual setting and don't leave an auto or any of those kind of things, priority, all that kind of stuff, the aperture setting, then you can kind of see what they have. But I've seen so many people that we were talking about this at one of the shows maybe 2 years ago, that this one person had their camera in auto, and we're kind of looking at them, we're kind of like, are you going to change that to manual at some point? Yeah. And he never did. So we're like, what kind of shots did he get from that? And we didn't know who he was affiliated with, so we never did see his post work to see what happened from that show. But I'm guessing he just got himself in there and was hoping for the best, because the auto setting is it can't pick up the movement, it can't pick up the lighting, the white balance, everything else that's going on during the concert. It just can't deal with it. So he probably got maybe 3 decent shots if he was lucky, and then he probably did all the post work to try to make it look a little bit more, worthwhile for whoever he was shooting for. But that actually brings me to a whole other side note of, there's this thing where bands, and you can't fault a band, because if they have a friend that's in town or whatever and they want to see the show, they'll let them come into the pit area where the photographers are, and that's fine, and they'll be there usually with their phones, trying to film their band and their friend or whatever. And we usually only get the first 3 songs, and then we got to get out of the pit. But they'll be in the way of us doing our work. I can't remember what band that was, but there must have been like 5 girls with these phones trying to film stuff and taking selfies, with the band on stage and all this shit. And we're like, hey, you can do that. Wait till the 4th song and we got to leave. You can do that all you want.
Yeah.
We actually have people that we have to supply something to. It's a job for us, whether you're getting paid or not. You still have a deadline. And a couple of them were nice, but a couple of them weren't. They're like, I have every right to be in here. And you can barely hear them, with all the noise coming from the stage. Where it's just like, you could tell they were pissed at us, saying, can you just please stand over there or stand off to the sides where we're not working? But it's become a regular occurrence, especially at like pop shows and non-metal shows. Man, the entourages are in the photo pits, and it drives me nuts, which actually goes back to the whole pet peeve thing. But
I don't know. I think it's cool, like when you see a show and like, the singer or somebody on the stage will say like, hold your cameras up with your lights on, that looks really cool in a stadium or whatever. They're good for that. But man, when you see people just like, I know this is an old thing now, but like when you're watching a show and the dork in front of you is holding up his camera and filming it, it's like, are you going to go home and watch that? You're not going to go home and watch it. No one does. It's so frustrating, and I really wish people would just put their cameras away. I think Glenn Danzig, he's one of those guys. He doesn't like it. I think the Misfits try to. I mean, people bring their cameras and shoot it anyway, but he's been staunchly against it. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah,
I know, like for those early Misfit reunion shows, they had some sort of policy. And I also know, I think what Danzig did, like his anniversary tour, they had that whole thing where you have to put the camera into like a plastic bag that locks. They have a whole system that some of these concert venues and bands are starting to use. And that way, if you needed to get a hold of your phone, you still have it on you. It doesn't go anywhere, but it's in this locked pouch. You have to go out to the lobby or wherever, use the little key, like what you'd have, like if you're buying clothes at a store, and they use that little security thing to take it off. Same kind of concept. And that way you can have access to your phone away from the show. And I don't know what that costs, but he's one of the few artists that I know that have done that. I think Tool has done something similar to that.
That's a great idea.
What an awesome show to go to that. I mean, that's some nostalgia for you.
Yeah, and I want to say hi to Night Stalker. I know he just came in. Mike, John High stopped in really quickly from our whole high school days. So
that's awesome.
He says hello. Let's keep going here. Okay. Desert island question. Would you rather pick being alone on a desert island or with a person you hate?
I'd take the person I hate because I'd make them like me. I'd figure out a way to like them to help me get through getting off that desert island. I don't think being alone would drive me, even though I'm so antisocial, I do love being alone.
Yeah.
But in a desert island situation, I think even if I hated the person, and I've found that over the years, there's not a lot of people that I hate.
Yeah.
But also the number of people that I've had that hatred for that I've become friends with is amazing. Like eventually either the years or something changes and you're like, whatever. I don't even care about that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with Mike. I'd take the person that I hate. I'm trying to think of somebody I hate, but I think you're right too. Like as you get older, you just start to
get over that.
You're like, I mean, it's like, why hold grudges? It's just hard on you.
Yeah.
You know, but it would be really challenging because assuming you really hated that person, you could just use them as like this tool, like for personal growth.
That's right.
You know, you just like every day you could just be like, so how's it going? You know, and try to challenge yourself and just like be a better person on that desert island. But what you mentioned, Mike, it's like, I've noticed over the years that sometimes, when I don't hit it off with somebody immediately, like I'm like, oh God, this guy rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I end up being really good friends with that person eventually. So it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you just can't get along with someone, but there are times, it's like you kind of bump against somebody and it's just like it's not working, but you end up liking the person, or you have some kind of weird like mutual respect and it turns into a friendship. It's really interesting how that works.
Yeah, I think the most often that I experience is like someone that like seems, I don't know, fake or just like yakking about just stupid crap, and I'm like, I didn't know there's nothing to that person, and all of a sudden something deep happens. You're like, oh, that's a layer. We're all human, we all got that. But sometimes people put on that front, and I think that's what turns me off a lot. Is like, I don't even know what what you're talking about or what's going on or who you are. Then all of a sudden something happens that I get that connection. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it. Somebody that I look up to said, "Go first." And what she meant by that was be the first one to say something nice to somebody. Be the first person on the sidewalk. Like if you're approaching somebody on the sidewalk and you're like, sometimes you're like over calculating, like, should I say hi to this person? Should I just ignore this person? Go first and say hi. How's your day? It sounds corny, but like it really is such a good practice to just be the first one to do it. And sometimes, it's like, I feel like people, most people are looking for an opportunity to be nice, and it's like, I know for me, I think that sometimes, especially in working relationships, I come off as like I'm grumpy or too focused and don't mess with me or whatever. But I am looking for a good encounter too. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I want as many good, nice encounters as possible. I don't want to go out and have a miserable day. And I think that nobody really feels that way. Yeah. Everybody just wants to go like, oh, that was a really cool thing that person said about me. And it's like, maybe the problem is that not enough people are just going, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and be nice.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that idea though. Go first.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can, when you're talking about that, Wade, I can think of, and I mentioned this either during one of my interviews on the Alice tour or maybe during one of these fun sessions, that I used to work with a good friend of mine who was from, I want to say he was from, I should know this. He was from St. Louis. That's right, from St. Louis. He always talked about growing up in the projects down there. And but when he came up here, I just had never seen anybody like this. So we would take our students in South Seattle, which is kind of a rough area, and we'd walk out to the bus line and make sure they all got on the bus safely and went home after our program. And there'd be like bums coming off the bus and tweakers and all kinds of other people coming off the bus. And my coworker at the time, who became my good friend, he would talk to every single one of them, just like he was like the nicest, happiest guy. How are you doing today? Do you need help with that bag? You know, if they're trying to get to the recycling center to get a few coins together. And I still remember looking at him like, what's wrong with you initially? And then the more I was around him, I realized that's how he was. He actually meant it. He wasn't looking for something in return. So then I started to kind of adopt his philosophy. And, you know, over the course of 10 years so now, it's just been, it really does kind of change your life when you don't expect something in return. And like you just said, that you actually are the first one to initiate something. It could be something as small as, hey, how are you doing? It doesn't have to be this huge production. I'm thinking about, I was out at the track today trying to get my exercise in, and this lady, and granted, we're in COVID and 19, all that kind of stuff, but she was coming around on the football field. That's how she was kind of doing her jog or whatever, and she was trying to say hello to me, and I was trying to get away to have space outside because I don't know her, and neither of us have masks on, so we're trying to be smart about it, but she was like starting to yell louder, so I'm kind of like just waving at her, like, hey, I acknowledge you, please stop trying to talk to me, and spit in my direction. So it's unfortunate because I bet you that lady, this is probably killing her because she loves to talk to people, to say hello, keep doing her thing. I was telling people when the pandemic first hit that I had to go to the post office, and this lady in front of me was trying to hold the door open for me because she saw me coming. I was like, go ahead and let it go, and I'm going to let you walk away, and then I can go through it. So being polite and courteous during these times is almost like the ass backwards thing you have to do in those circumstances, which is unfortunate. But I think in general, like what you're saying, that philosophy would really help out a lot of people of just be the first one.
Yeah, let's go first. It's acknowledging them. It's acknowledging them, that you see them. I mean, that's the big thing. It's like you're just not ignoring them, or you don't even think they exist. It's just like, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'd be willing to bet that like a high percentage of the time you'd get something surprising back. You know what I mean? If you made it a habit. We're creatures of habit, so that's something I'd love to be in the habit of doing more, but it's really hard to be like that or to have that in mind all the time. I try to think about it a lot. Where you see, here in LA, I guess anywhere, but you see a lot of homeless people, and your problem up there in Seattle is real bad.
Mm-hmm.
But just when I see somebody is having a hard time, you know what I mean? I try to, I don't even judge that situation anymore. Like not that I ever was like a stupid homeless guy. I was never like that, but just even more nowadays, like if I see somebody struggling, I just think of them as a child. There was at one point, that person was a child with all the best intentions, and maybe a lot of promise, in life. And so you can't judge that situation. It's kind of the same thing, like along those same lines that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I had a really influential person tell me. I was working at this law office in Portland, and I didn't like the owner very much. And the guy that I was speaking to regularly about this, he was a very respected criminal defense attorney in Portland, really good lawyer, really good guy. And he brought something up to me that I had never heard ever in my life. He's like, so every day on your way to work, when you're driving, think about boss guy and just think about him getting everything that he wants out of that day. Think about him, people laughing at his jokes, whatever he wants to accomplish that day. Imagine him getting all that and be happy for him. And I was like, this strategy sucks. You know what I mean? Because like I go in energized every day thinking about how much I dislike this guy. But you know, honestly, I tried it and for like a month straight was just trying it. And I wasn't very good at it. But the thing is that it started to work for me. Like, because I was changing how I was reacting. I was changing the inside of me.
Yeah.
Because that's really all you have control over. There's
Right.
all this shit flying at you through life, you know, and it's like the magic is changing how you respond, how you react to these things. And that's kind of, man, it was such a wise thing to learn from this guy. Was like, okay, so you're telling me to just hope that this guy that I think is a dirtbag, like just has a great day and everybody laughs at his jokes. And it wasn't, and I really, you know, he was like, and when you think about that, you got to really want it for him. I was just like, man, this is bullshit. But, you know, it wasn't really about him getting those things. It was about changing
you.
Yeah. And I don't know,
awesome.
it sounds maybe a little bit hokey, but like,
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
But it's right there with the go first thing for me. You know, I always, sometimes I'll lose track or I'll need a little bit of guardrails in life. And I'll think back onto that. You know, it's usually some situation with another person or some situation in life. And I usually, it really does boil down to gratitude. I think you can file it all under gratitude, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. And I think it's just, like you said, it's about gratitude, about being grateful. It's also about perspective. And it's so easy to lose your perspective. I know I struggle with that time, especially during the pandemic. It's so easy just to go, God, this fucking sucks, or whatever the issue is. And then I kind of have to slow down and realize, well, look at all the good things you have. You have a roof over your head. You've got food in your cupboards. I was on the tour with Alice and all their fans and all the bands and the guests that I got to, interview and talk to. I mean, there are so many good, amazing silver linings that came during this time that I just have to remind myself of that perspective. Don't lose it, because it's so easy just to go down that hole and just stay down there and watch it get worse and fester and everything else. It's no, it's like, man, things are, they're, all things considered, they're actually not that bad. They could be a hell of a lot worse.
It can always be worse, huh?
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay. This one was kind of fun last time. If I were to summon you via black magic, what 5 items would I need to conjure you in the 5 corners of the pentagram?
Oh, man.
So what 5 things kind of represent you that would bring you, from wherever you're at? If we're talking like a movie or something.
Wade, do you want to do this one first?
Oh my God. Does it have to be like physical, like items?
I don't think so. I mean, last time I asked it, the other guest came up with, they're talking about a guitar cord and a piece of clothing and stuff like that. So I don't think it has to be physical stuff.
Boy, this is a crazy one.
I think my dog would have to be in one of the corners.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, my dog.
I agree.
Okay.
That would bring me there. That's one.
Yeah, put me down for dog. Maybe the Tritone.
Mm-hmm.
It was considered like an evil chord. I can't remember what the intonation is on that. Is it a minor fifth or something? Or I don't know what but it was largely considered like an evil.
Right.
But maybe you'd have to play a tritone.
Okay. So we have your dog in one corner. We have the tritone on another corner. That's 3 other things that come to mind.
I know this is cliche, but I mean, My favorite food is basically Mexican, so maybe a taco.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
like that.
taco, dog, Tritone. Gotta have drumsticks.
Yeah.
So drumsticks on the other one, and then a potato.
Okay. There you go.
Just a potato. Seriously.
So if we come up with those 5 things, and then Wade will magically appear then. Okay. Mike, anything you want to add to your
So yeah, I've got my dog. Dog has to be alive. So no sacrifice of the dog.
Okay.
And then I'm thinking like a boom box with
Oh,
like
yeah.
all my favorite CDs like playing, or just one of them. It could be like James Brown playing or something. So I got a boom box, Presley, my dog. A good stout. A good stout in one corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's 2. Oh. Yeah, some drumsticks in the other one. And then the last one. Man. I don't know, Jeep. The Mustang. 67 Mustang. That'd be a car there. I'm
All
good.
right.
I'm there.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. I know for myself that I would be what I consider cliche. You would have to spill some of your own blood to
Oh, God.
bring me back. So, I've taken the cancer slug mark on both of my shoulders, so I don't mind having some blood spilt. And I think if you just have to do a little bit on your finger, just a little drop. I would definitely have a guitar string on one of the other corners, since that's my main instrument that I still play, guitar. I would have something to do with photography. I don't want it to be like a lens cap or something that has to do with maybe a camera bag. I don't know, something that's camera oriented. I think I would want you to have a pen which would represent my writing.
There you go.
Because I'm a writer first and a photographer second. So that's what's kind of got me all these credentials and all these other things. It's actually been my writing more so than anything else. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, there's 4. And I'm going to kind of take a page from Wade in terms of food. I think you need a bag of chips on one corner for me, because I want some salty junk food. And if I hear that bag opening, I'm coming out.
Yeah.
Here I come.
It's funny.
That's great.
Let's see.
I saw some meme. It was, speaking of memes, it was like comparing if women had a time capsule and men had a time machine. And the women, to go talk to your great-great-great-grandmother or something. And the girl goes back and says, I'm your great-great-great-granddaughter. And the guy's like, he's got like a family-size bag of Doritos. He's like, you got to try these. You know what I mean? He's just chips.
Yeah.
That one, I can literally hear crickets outside right now. No, but the point of the meme was that a dude is just like, you gotta try these Doritos.
Yeah, no, that's. I guess I fit right into that meme then. And I see.
That's awesome.
I
Crickets are chirping.
I see Tony listed Gibson guitar, Nikon DSLR, pizza, chocolate ice cream, a computer. Dusty's talking about he has cats, so good luck getting them to stay put while he grabs the other items.
Yeah.
Captain Blackwood's talking about a computer, cup of coffee, tea is acceptable.
Coffee.
Tape or tapped mic, Lotus Type 25, a good beer. Yeah, the cheers to the beer for sure. All kinds of interesting things. And let's see. Are you guys still doing good on time? Because I'm fine. I don't want to make sure that I'm not going too long, because it's been an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I do have to go real soon.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Not a problem, because we went well past the 1 hour that I talked about. Let's end it with this question. Let me find a good one here. Where'd that one with the? Okay, this is kind of like a nice way to end the fun table, round 4. Who was your childhood actor or actress crush? Maybe one of them. Maybe you had several.
Hmm.
I got it. I mean, she did do acting, but I think she was a musician first. Olivia Newton-John.
Hmm.
Absolutely. My dad had that LP, the Grease soundtrack LP.
Yeah.
So it was like a gatefold. I can't remember. I think it had like two doors on it. And she was like when I was a kid, man. Wow. Olivia Newton-John. Actually, there was a lot of cute girls in Grease, I think.
Yeah.
But she sang on that soundtrack, so I was extra fascinated. He's either that or what was the girl on Family Ties? I had a crush on her too.
Oh, Justine Bateman?
Justine Bateman.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like a sex symbol, and then obviously her brother Justin came and did his acting thing much later down the road. But at the time of that heyday of that show, yeah.
Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting that you mentioned Olivia Newton-John, because when I asked this question in one of the earlier round tables or fun tables, that was my answer.
It was?
It was. I'm not kidding. You can go back to the video. Go back to the video on YouTube and watch it, and it's but my story was a little bit different. So obviously it's because of Grease. I saw Grease at the Cinerama, I want to say, in downtown Seattle. But I was a Kiss fan, and at the time being like 8 or 9 or whatever, I think Grease came out like in 77 or 78 or something. I was always looking for magazines that had Kiss in them, and there was this one called 16 magazine, and I didn't realize that was mainly geared towards girls. So it had all like Sean Cassidy and and Andy Gibb and other kind of like heartthrobs and stuff. But they would always have Kiss in there too. So I'm like, oh, Mom, I want to get that magazine because there's Kiss stuff in there. And I still remember flipping through the pages, and there was this one page where there was a still of Olivia Newton-John from Grease. I'm like, who's that? It was kind of over at that point. So
that was super cute.
When I mentioned too that I got a chance to meet her in 2017 in person.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it was set up through her her manager / publicist, and it was really so I can tell this story now because it's been 3 years. She's not going to see this, but that she was performing with 2 other musicians and kind of like a side project, and they were selling like the CD of that side project at the merch table, and if you got one of the first like 50 that you paid extra money for, you can get a picture with the 3 gals after the show. And so I was there, and it's like, well, that's not my deal. I'm supposed to be on the see her at some point kind of list thing. Yeah. And the tour manager came up and said, oh, Mark, just wait over here. And I had my mom with me at the time, and said, after the show, we'll bring you backstage. So I'm kind of like, okay, cool. What I didn't realize was that they brought us back like we were friends or family. We were the only 2 down there that you could see the gals were there, and they're talking to people that they hadn't seen in a long time that lived here in Seattle or what have you, or came down from Vancouver. And then they're kind of looking at us like, who are those people over there? Because do you know them? Do you know them? Do you know them?
Yeah.
And I was kind of being bold, figuring I'm going to try to get my picture with them and her, which I did. And then I finally explained to her that I knew Michael, which was her rep down in Vegas. And then she relaxed. She said, oh, you know Michael? How do you know him? And she wanted to know the whole story. So I was kind of telling that. So I'm like, yeah, I didn't mean to scare you or anything. We're not like crazy creeper fans. And plus they saw my mom, so I think they felt a little bit better, but they're just kind of confused about who are those 2 Asian people over there.
Wow, that's awesome though.
Yeah, and she's super, super nice, super sweet. And we just kind of did our thing, and then I just kind of excused myself past the tour manager. Thank you, and we just kind of left early because I didn't want to linger around down there because, again, these are some people that they personally knew.
You weren't like, so I had a crush on you when I was a kid. I still do. You remember when you were in Greece? Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I have pants just like what you wore in Greece that I wear at home.
I still have my magazine.
You know what's crazy is that not that thought, but the thought that I did like her way back when did cross through my mind as we were going down the stairs to meet her. Because you start thinking about all these that timeline of like when you first get into her and their music and movies and all that kind of thing, and you're like, God, this is so surreal that I'm going to meet her in about 30 seconds, and
crazy.
There it is. So, Mike, how about you?
In my mind, as you were showing us, the first one is Melanie Griffith or Molly Ringwald. One of those 2.
Oh yeah.
One of those 2. Yeah.
Yep. Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Pretty in pink.
Yeah, 16 candles.
Heck yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, all of that stuff. Wow, let's see. I saw one comment just came through. Okay. Well, hey, so guys, this went an hour and 25 minutes. So this is the new record for the fun table. So I guess the part 5, depending on how many guests are there, that's going to be interesting to see if they can top the time. And, but I had a great time. I think
Me too.
It was exactly what we want. Yeah, just having a chance to get to know each other and talk about all kinds of random things, from music to everything else. So just thank you guys. I thank everyone that came, actually tuned in and watched. And again, this is part 4. So there's going to be most likely a part 5 because there's already some interest from other people that have seen some of these. And they say, how do I get in on that? And I'm like,
cool.
Well, and what's kind of nice is that it doesn't have to be just 2. It could be 3. I probably would max it out at maybe 4 guests because I don't want to have too many when people can't really talk, or we'd be here for 5 hours or something. But if there's something you're interested, I'll definitely ping you guys offline and kind of see if you want to come back around and later this month or September or what have you, and do it all over again. So have a great Friday, great weekend. Same to everybody out there that's watching, and
thanks.
Stay safe.
Everybody have a good weekend.
All righty, take care, everybody.
All right, see ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.